Afternoon, everyone. This is the Metropolitan Council meeting on this Wednesday, March 26, 2025. I'm Charlie Zelli, Chair, and it's my honor to preside. We are now going to add something that will regularly be part of our meetings, which is a Dakota Land, Water, and People Acknowledgement. And I really want to thank the council and also our Indian Advisory Committee who helped us write this. And I mentioned this at our committee of the whole. I would be reading this statement, and then I'm going to ask that we share this responsibility with other council members. I will give you warning, but I get to do it first, which is the one few prerogatives I'll have as chair, and then we're going to share that responsibility in the future. So with that, the Metropolitan Council acknowledges that the land we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral homeland of the Dakota Oyate, who are present and active contributors to a thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unsolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, and the fact that government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, benefited economically, politically, and institutionally after the forcible removal of the Dakota Oyate. The Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in regional policy. These commitments support the Dakota Oyate, the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota, Ho-Chunk Nation, and the American Indian communities representing over 150 diverse tribal nations that call the 7-county region home. Thank you. This is a robust agenda, and unless I hear otherwise, I will take the agenda as approved. But we do have minutes, which we'll vote on from our meeting on March 12th. Sent out in advance. If there's any corrections or questions, otherwise I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So move. Second.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, those minutes are approved. On to our time for public invitation. Are there any persons here who have an interest in addressing the council on matters that are not on the agenda? We have a couple of guests who have signed but not to speak, so if there's anybody, now is their great moment. And not having anybody is okay too. All right, on to the consent business items. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent business items?
Make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the consent business agenda is approved. So on to our reports of standing committees. There are no reports from the Community Development Committee nor the Environment Committee, however, several from the Management Committee, and the first will require a roll call. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have 3 items to bring before you from the Management Committee, and the first is our business item 202550. It's a joint committee item, and it is a unified budget amendment, and yes, there will be a roll call on this. The 2025 first quarter and carry forward budget amendment makes changes to the operating budget in regional administration, community development, and transportation, and to the capital budget in community development and transportation. The proposed amendment was reviewed and approved by the Transportation Committee on March 10th, the Management Committee on March 12th, and the Community Development Committee on March 17th. In regional administration, the amendment carries forward 4 items previously allocated for equity grants totaling $1 million, and $2.2 million that had been set aside to support the Business Process Systems Integration, or BPSI, project in 2023 and 2024. The amendment also adds 3 full-time employees for the Regional Administration Finance Department, for additional support in the general ledger, accounts payable, and accounts receivable teams. In community development, the amendment carries forward funds needed to complete the work in the Climate Action Plan, Imagine 2050 development, fair housing, and the art and policy community engagement work authorized in the 2024 budget. In transportation, the amendment adds 119 FTEs to the operating budget to support the Network Now initiative and the transfer of $24 million in the MVEST funds to the capital budget to partially support the purchase of 98 replacement buses. Turning to the capital budget, the amendment includes the purchase of 98 replacement buses for delivery at Metro Transit in 2026 and the purchase of 22 expansion buses to support the Network Now initiative. It reclassifies $10 million in state funding for the Blue Line extension from the capital budget to the operating budget, adds $16.5 million for rail maintenance and track work projects on the Blue Line, and adds $5.8 million for new transit information software. Lastly, the amendment adds $2 million for MTS for the purchase of 530 routers. The individual projects and their changes are all outlined in Table 9 and 11 that you've all received in advance of this item. The motion is that, Mr. Chair, that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the 2025 unified budget as amended and in accordance with the attached tables.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there was a typo in the business item. I already pointed it out to Mindy so that she can correct it for our final, whatever it is.
Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. When I was heading down here, I saw our recording secretary furiously working on correcting something, and I suspect it might have been that. So we'll make sure that that is in the final record in the appropriate space. Right? Okay.
Do you need to take a second?
Any other discussion?
No, and there'll be a roll call as well, Mr. Chair, okay.
Yeah, all right, no other discussion, we'll take a roll call.
All right. Johnson?
Aye.
Chambliss?
Aye.
Dr. Carter?
Aye.
Barber?
Aye.
Pacheco?
Aye.
Lilligren?
Aye.
Osmond?
Aye.
Morales?
Aye.
Lindstrom?
Aye.
Vento?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Zelli?
Aye, that motion is carried. Thank you. Councilmember Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is business item 2025-74. It's the Enterprise Asset Management System, known as EAMS, software and implementation. As part of the Council's Business Process System Integration Program, the Enterprise Asset Management System, known as EAMS, project will replace the Council's two legacy work management systems with a single modern enterprise platform. The new EAMS system will support how the Met Council manages the assets that deliver critical services to the region, and over 1,000 of our frontline workers rely on every day to do their jobs. The new platform will support core business functions that keep the Council's 110 plus 10,000 assets in good state of repair and provide a single view access across the enterprise with better reporting and mobile capabilities. This contract is the result of several years of detailed preparation. It will deliver implementation services, software licensing, and support for the new platform. Councilmember Lilligren asked about the asset management certification training provided to staff during the preparation phase. The training was conducted using an industry standard curriculum, and the certification is recognized globally. In our management meeting, the Councilmember Cedarburg asked how change orders would be managed for the budget purposes. The project management team is equipped to manage scope and change orders through the thorough requirements gathering process that is now complete. This item has been reviewed and approved by the Management Committee on March 12th. So therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the Regional Administrator to negotiate and execute contract 23P221 with 21 Tech LLC to provide consulting services and for the implementation of Hexagon EAM with software licensing and support in an amount not to exceed $7,826,000 and $826,252. And also Kristen Thompson, Metro Director of Asset Management, is present at our meeting tonight in case there are any questions.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll just make a comment. This is huge
Please.
for the council.
Yeah.
We have legacy systems that have been plugging along, but, we are entering, a modern era here. And so this is going to do a lot for efficiency. This is going to streamline. This is going to be better for people working at the council. It'll be great to manage our assets, and it will be seen to the constituents that we serve across the region as well. So it's a very good investment that we're making here at the council, and probably long overdue.
Great, thank you. Yes, very exciting. Any other questions? Councilmember Chambliss?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I missed this, but do you know how long the implementation is going to take?
That's a good question. I don't recall from our management committee meeting. Do we have anybody that can answer that question?
I think we do.
Thank you for being here.
Chair and council members, it's a multiple-year contract. We have the first, it may change over time. We're still developing the project plan, but targeting the first part of the contract to be implementation, and then there's a period of support after that, and the total length is a 5-year contract.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Great question.
Any more questions? All right, with that, we can have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried. Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is our last item. It's business item 2025-75. It's our Microsoft Enterprising Licensing and Cloud Renewal Contract, 25P051. The Information Services Department is currently negotiating the 3-year renewal of the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement with SHI International for Microsoft licensing and Azure services. The agreement includes Microsoft tools and applications such as Office 365, SharePoint, and server databases. Approximately $18,200,000 of the $32,500 is allocated to cover the cost of Azure cloud services, supporting the council's goal of migrating systems to the cloud. This item has been reviewed and approved by the Management Committee on March 12th. And with that, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the Regional Administrator to negotiate and execute Contract 25P051 with SHI International for Microsoft licenses, support of Windows, Office 365, SharePoint, and Azure Cloud Services in an amount not to exceed $32,500,000.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to thank everybody who's been working on this. Again, this will be felt council-wide, and again, a shout out to our IS Services Department. Gretchen is here tonight, and we're really, again, entering a new era at the council. I think this fits within our goals and brings us to a new standard of technology that will serve us well into the future. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I feel like something so important, we should talk about it at great length, but looking at our Chief Information Officer, I think she'd be really happy if we just voted on this. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carried. Congratulations. Congratulations, Gretchen. This is great work.
Thanks, Gretchen. And everyone.
All right, our other business item is something we've been talking and thinking and working on for some time. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2025-30 is regarding the discontinuation of suspended bus routes and endorsement of the Network Now framework. Network Now is a vision for transit service that meets the needs of our region through 2027. This framework guides improvements to grow ridership, enhance mobility, and meet travel needs. The framework outlined in the report represents the region's top priorities for transit as captured in over 8,000 comments over multiple years, coupled with policy guidance and technical evaluation. Through Network Now, Metro Transit investments will expand transit service by more than 40% to help attract more riders, improve access by providing new bus routes and Metro micro service, modify commuter and express service to meet today's travel patterns, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by encouraging transit use. In summary, when the framework is fully implemented, 70-plus routes will have frequency or span improvements, 26 routes will have 15-minute or better service, light rail transit service will be back to 10-minute frequency. There will be 8 new microzones and routes with new coverage will be operating. 50 routes will be officially discontinued discontinued and the resources invested into other service, and 12 suspended routes will be restored, among other improvements. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council endorse the discontinuation of 50 bus routes as outlined in Network Now and endorse the Network Now framework.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion? Councilmember Barbie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, of course, I have to comment on this. This was a lot of work. I mean, this is something that we had to take and look at our system and be real honest with ourselves of how the system should grow and contract in different areas to meet how people are moving around throughout the region. I really want to commend all the staff at Metro Transit for all their hard work in this, and a lot of really want to commend the public outreach that was done for all of this, because some routes were going away for on a permanent basis. And so it was really important to make sure that people knew other ways to access the system. But, even though some of those things are going away, I think it also, if you look at the fact that we're really fundamentally growing our transit system by 40%, and when we know that we have a legislature that's really interested in how we're doing and how we're investing and showing we're responding and growing and putting more transit out, I think this really reflects all of that great work, and it's just a huge asset to the region. So very excited for this.
Yeah, and I just pile on that thought. Congratulations for all the work, and Councilmember Barber, your work as leader of the Transportation Committee. I mean, I know that the committee's really addressed this over time, and Adam and your group and Leslie, others, there they are. I mean, honestly, we talk about opening new lines, which we could talk about, but just the general expansion of a network, while many parts of the country are contracting because of operating deficits, we're really blessed that we have the opportunity to do this and that we're doing it right. And we've heard a lot of feedback over time that we need a vision and a plan, and I think we have a vision, and now we really have a plan. So. Any other thoughts? Mr. R.A.
I'll take whatever title. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just,
a lot of things.
to add on to the comments already made, this is a significant investment across significant areas, like across our region, across many lines. And so the challenge in the implementation is also making sure that people understand the investment happening, not just at the moment of a vote, but as we go forward. And so I don't have a perfectly laid out plan, but what I would just say is that the general manager has been working with the team to think about how we will continue to communicate progress every quarter as we continue to make investments in the system so that you all can tell that story in your community, that we can see lines move from theoretical to implemented along the Network Now paradigm, which allows our supporters who have helped advocate for continued improvements to our system to also see that happen with us. There's a storytelling element to the investments being made to show how they're actually then delivering in the way that this council has supported the development of this plan and this next step. And so we take very seriously the idea that we need to keep telling our story, much like we've done with safety and security and cleaning and different ways to tell that. And we will continue to take that into account as we move forward so that we bring it back here and you can help be storytellers for what is truly a historic investment in a region. And if you look around the country, that's pretty unique right now as we talk about public transportation. Thank you.
Any other words? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that motion carried. Congratulations, everyone. It's also important to note that we took a budget roll call vote for the funds to support this initiative, so it was good that we approved it. Yeah. A little out of order, but all right. All right, so that finishes our business items. We have our information item, which is a subject near and dear to my heart, the public art in transit, and Mark Granlund is with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Chair, council members. For those of you on the Transportation Committee, you see this presentation every year, but this first time in front of the full council. So I will provide a little context for the program, the Public Art and Transit program, as I go, but also covering a lot that we get done every year. So I'm gonna go very quickly through a bunch of slides and talk about them. So Good. So the Metro Transit Public Art and Transit Program is made up of 82 permanent public artworks, made up of 420 individual pieces. So I explain this as like a Fairview Avenue station, that's considered one public art piece, but there's actually 8 mosaics at the station. So we have 82 permanent public works, but they're made up of 420 individual pieces. So it's a very large collection, one of the largest in the state. There's 5 aspects to our public art and transit program. One is permanent collection maintenance, facilities maintenance support, community opportunities, new and upgraded facilities, and an interpretive program. So some of the things that we do with our program, we do conservation projects. So we have our permanent collection that we are maintaining and trying to keep it in as good shape as possible. So one of the things is doing anti-graffiti coatings on our murals and some of our other work to help prevent graffiti, making it easier to remove graffiti. We have also had our conservation technician. We hired a conservation technician this last summer to help with the maintenance. And she trained in our facilities maintenance staff on how to apply these anti-graffiti coatings. It's one of those things where you mix 2 things together and you gotta wait. You apply it, you gotta do it again, you gotta wait. It's very drippy. This was a bonus in that this anti-graffiti coating can be added to other surfaces, not just public art. Part of what we did this last year and that we're going to do again this year, in 2023, we tested the stainless steel laser cut panels at 50th Street Station. They're getting rusty. The iron filings from the train wheels going on the railings, little iron filings go up in the air, land on this. It gets a little rusty. Stainless steel isn't supposed to rust, but it does. So what we've done, they got really rusty, as you can see. So we had a vendor, KCI, come in and remove the panels. We tested what would be the best approach. One was taking acid by hand, doing a hand wash. Sounds very not fun. The other is taking these and dipping them in a vat of acid and adding, electrolyzing it. So we found that to be the most effective. And this is what it looks like after treatment.
Nice.
Did you want to
I just have
interrupt?
Mr. Chair, members, I have a quick, that looks dangerous to me. Do you have little kids around there, or is it looks like it's, if you ran into it, you'd be in trouble?
There's no sharp edges to it, we've never had a problem with anybody getting hurt on them.
Okay.
So, as you can see in this, to sort of see the frame that it was in that's behind it, also needed a new paint job. So there we go. So while these panels were removed and getting treated, our facilities maintenance staff took the opportunity to paint the railing. So when we're all done, it looks like brand new. So that's the west side of the platform. That was 48 panels that were done last summer. This summer we're going to finish the east side, which is about 50 panels. So. Graffiti removal is something that we do every year. Even artworks get graffiti on them. It's not as common as other surfaces, which is the great thing about public art, is it reduces the amount of graffiti and vandalism that actually happens. This last year we had about 12 incidents of graffiti on our artwork, whereas compared to 2023 we had 20. So people are reducing it. Also with our anti-graffiti coatings, et cetera, it's just much, much easier to clean up. Our staff aren't dealing with terrible chemicals. The vendor that we hire for the really difficult stuff has a much easier job with it. So sometimes we're not just removing graffiti, we're removing other things that happen once in a while. You never know what's going to happen out there. So, and then the second of the 5 parts of the program is maintenance support. So we already talked about anti-graffiti coatings helping maintenance, but So, but what we're also doing is we're putting murals in places that get graffiti, and that reduces it tremendously. So these are 2 crossing houses that got muralized this last summer, and we haven't had any graffiti on them since. They, of course, have anti-graffiti coatings on them, but we just find, wherever we do murals, it just reduces them tremendously. So anti-graffiti, you might see a theme here. Anti-graffiti wallpaper is a new thing that we've been trying out. So at the Franklin Avenue station, the elevator lobbies were redone, the whole interiors of them. And we decided to do some anti-graffiti wallpaper in there and see how that goes. We started with that at Lake Street Midtown Station and have had great response to that. Very little graffiti on the walls anymore. When it does come to wipe, it just wipes off really easily with the right products. So we thought we'd try it in Franklin Avenue Station. We also have some polycarb art. So that middle picture, both of these were designed by Indigenous artist Sarah Agaton Howe. And the middle picture is a new thing we're trying because we get glass broken so much in our system. This is actually polycarbonate, and it has the artwork embedded between 2 sheets that are fused together. So you can't break it like glass. And we were trying some polycarb, but it would get scratched and other things people would do to it. So we thought, well, let's try some art. And we put these up 10 months ago, and we haven't had any scratches or anything to them. So we're looking at expanding. Polycarbonate facilities maintenance is determined won't work in a lot of situations, but we're finding situations where, along with a little bit of art, maybe there are ways to make things not need as much maintenance and look really beautiful. Anti-graffiti wallpaper. Skyway at Central Station. This is artwork by Genesis Lopez, who started doing artwork in our program through the bus shelter beautification program, which I'll talk about in a minute. But of course, a lot of problems in the Skyway, a lot of graffiti. So we put this up this winter, and so far so good. It's doing really well. It really gives pop. It was just a plain white Skyway before. Really not interesting to walk through. And so we're seeing how this goes, but so far it's done really, really well. Yes, the bus shelter program. So we have the bus shelter beautification program, where anybody can submit designs for art clings that go on our bus shelters. So last year we did 13 bus shelters, all by local artists. This is artwork by Kathy Ha. And so this is a 50-50 perforated material often that goes on the backs of bus shelters and adds a little pop and life. But it's 50-50 perforated, so people can still see in and out of the shelter for safety. But at the same time, we found that putting these clings on the bus shelters reduces graffiti in the shelters by 60% and vandalism, glass vandalism, by 50%. So it's been very successful, fun program to actually run. Another aspect of the program is community partnerships. So last spring, we partnered with the Walker Arts Center and Juxtaposition Arts to add artistic clings to D-line shelters in North Minneapolis. So we worked with neighborhood artists and students. The 2 organizations created artistic images for 6 shelters. The clings were installed with a celebration in May of 2024. So this is before, and this is after. And this is the first time we've done BRT shelters. So that was kind of fun to start expanding it to that system. Some in-house fun work. Our creative services department did a project in 2023 called Transit Joy. They created these boxes of objects that ended up going out in our advertising panels in bus shelters at 15 different locations. And they worked also with artist Jan Elfman to create about 7 of them. And they were so nice that we decided we got to find a nice home for them. So we installed them in the stairway at Haywood Tower, and they look really great. And many kudos to our creative services staff who have sort of wrapped their arms around public art and are enjoying doing it as well as promoting it. Another aspect, or as I mentioned before, a conservation technician was hired this last summer. This is TJ Littlefield. She oversaw maintenance projects for us, working with vendors. She completed a re-anchoring of the public art at the Dale Street Station, the repaving of the panels at 50th Street Station, several graffiti removals, application of anti-graffiti coatings, and more. We are currently working on defining this position for 2025. And in addition, she helped lead public art tours, which you can see here. So it's really fun on the public art tours, which is part of our interpretive aspect. So that's another aspect of the public art program. We have interpretation that's done through public art tours. The last few summers, we took a break for COVID, but we're back again. And the last couple summers, we've done 4 tours, 2 of the Blue Line, 2 of the Green Line. And we also do 2 practice tours with staff, if there's anybody who wants to come and see a tour and learn about our public art. And we do those in the summer. Those are run by our technician, an intern, and someone from outreach and engagement. A new kind of tour we did a mobile workshop tour for the American Planning Association Conference in the spring. We took them around Lake Street and Franklin Avenue. And stopped at many of the sites where we have public art, talked about what we're doing, the success of them, how we went about doing them. It's a very popular tour. We ended up with 18 additional people on it than they were going to allow originally. So it was just a really fun, enjoyable tour, and a lot of thanks to many staff on the planning and urban design team, on our construction team who helped share our story with everybody from around the country. A little bit more of the interpretation is just that we have a website that talks about public art opportunities for artists. You can sign up on a roster to be an artist that we consider for projects. We have our full permanent collection on the website. You can go look at that. I get a call about once a month from other public art administrators around the country because they've seen the website, they wonder about our programs, they ask, how are you doing that, blah, blah, blah. So that's really great. Artist roster is a new thing we started. I think at this point we have about 25 local artists signed up for the artist roster, so this is really good for small projects. Like currently, Creative Services is having a poster designed for the B-Line. And so they were able to just go to the artist roster, find an illustrator, go look at some samples of their work, contact them, and so I think right now they're working with Thomasina Top Bear to have a poster designed. And so it's very convenient. It's for anybody in the council who needs somebody creative, photographer, illustrator, public artist, social engagement artist, et cetera. You can go check out this roster and find somebody to do a project for you. So that's sort of, hopefully you could follow. I was going through those 5 different aspects of the program. And so now I'll just talk briefly about what's coming in 2025. We have the North Loop Garage over by Haywood. We're going to have on the southwest corner that is in pink, we're going to have this mural mosaic put on there. That's by Daniela Bianchini and Pablo Calaca, which will be it's like a bus, interior of a bus that's going to go on the bus garage, so really fun. Also, elsewhere on the garage, we have the southeast corner, which is the maintenance staff's break area. And this is the design by Hibak Ibrahim. If you've seen her, you might have seen her work before if you've been to Lake Street Midtown Station. She did the big murals there. So we had a selection panel, RFP, RFQ process, people applied, we went through the whole 9 yards, and these are the ones that came out in the end getting the commissions. We're going to go inside at the North Loop Garage this year and do something in the ceiling area of the break room. We have some crossing houses, some more crossing houses. This is designed by Gino Okok. that's going to go on the Downtown East Signal House. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the Downtown East Signal House. That is right near US Bank Stadium. One other thing we're doing, we have a few pieces that no longer fit well where they were originally put 20 years ago. One is this piece called Small Kindnesses Weather Permitting. There's actually, originally there's 42 of these types of boxes you interact with. A little video, a little audio clip plays when you push a lever, turn a crank. They're very hard to maintain. Everything, when I first came on almost 9 years ago, everything in it was already obsolete. You couldn't replace it. So we redid all the guts, and we decided they need to be someplace where they're not out in the wilds of the world, a little more protected, maybe indoors, but still accessible to people. So we're trying to look at where we might be able to put this elsewhere so that people can enjoy these clips that are now 23, 24 years old, the clips themselves. Some people who did them are now rather well known, like Kevin Kling and some others. So it'd be really nice to still have this in our collection somewhere, but somewhere a little more protected than just out on the blue line. So we also have a couple other pieces that we're looking at relocating to because they're just in places where people don't really see them over time. Things grow and whatever. So one of the new exciting things this year too is that I and Barry Farrington from the Better Bus Stop program have been working with Ellie Hohulin and Emmett Mullen of Community Development. I believe you got received a presentation from Ellie about a month ago about the artwork they're doing around policy. So we're developing art projects across our departments, and the first will be placing art at 5 different bus shelters near parks or trails. The art will reflect different aspects of the policy previously addressed by community development as part of the 2050 plan. We look at this as a good way to integrate the operational aspects of the public art and transit program with the outreach and engagement aspects of the public art and policy program. So looking forward to doing this work together this year and seeing where that partnership goes down the line. So just so you understand the results of a vital public art program, why have one? A vital public art program will create a better rider and employee experience through improved conditions at facilities and an attractive environment. It leads to easier maintenance with less graffiti and vandalism. It engages the community through partnerships with local organizations, local artists, and engagement art projects. And it creates more diverse policy and practice through cultural engagement and through MCUB fulfillment. About 90% of the people I work with are MCUB or local businesses or businesses that are 1 or 2 employee. So, and that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mark, that is a great presentation. Really appreciate it. Any questions, comments? Start with Tony and
Thank you.
this way.
Well, Mark, you know, I always look forward to this presentation, and thank you so much. It's always exciting, as it is today. Regarding the programming that you do for wrapping buses in particular, that seems to be just really a great partnership opportunity. I heard that artists can apply individually, but you also spoke about partnerships with community organizations. How does that partnership work? And if you could you talk specifically about with respect to wrapping shelters?
Yeah, so far it's been communities contacting us. They see something out there that we've been doing. They like it. They figure out what we want to do something with it. So currently the Rondo Community Land Trust is talking with us about doing something with 3 stops on Selby. So they've got Seitu Jones and a couple other artists involved designing things for the backs of the shelters and for the utility cabinets, things like that. So
You read my mind.
yeah.
I just hadn't heard, and I'm really glad to know that we're able to anticipate the relationship of that work to the opening of the line.
Yeah.
As that is really an exciting way to create community ownership. Thank you so much for moving on that.
On this side, I know Chai.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This is my 7th year, and the council is such a huge animal. This is one of those things I didn't think, or I didn't know that we had a chief art administrator position until like last year, I think. And so it's just a reminder of the incredible work that our staff do on a everyday basis. So I'm grateful that we have such a robust public art component to our work.
Yeah, absolutely. Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, this is fabulous, and I may need to get a hold of you and find out the name of the artist who did the anti-graffiti wallpaper at Central Station, because I would like that wallpaper. I don't have to worry about graffiti. I'm curious, if you reached out to high schools or colleges and universities and art programs there? I'm thinking particularly of the Perpich School for the Arts. I think students there might have an interest in knowing about this program and maybe learning from it and seeing the possibilities as far as careers and, you know, what they can do as they're developing their artistic skills.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Vento, we haven't specifically reached out to high schools and other schools in a partnership with Brooklyn Center at BCTC. The city organized art through local elementary schools that ended up being on a display for art that rolls in the center, transit center itself. And where we can, like at I-35W and Lake Street, we were involved with 4 different communities that all meet right at that station. And through them doing outreach to a local high school as well to try to get some people on board to help paint and have some of their input on what could go into the imagery of the work there.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I like the idea of people coming together from the community and being a part of it. There's a wonderful community just north of Wilmer, Spicer, Minnesota. I've maybe talked about this before, but they have a beautification committee, and every year they do something unique, and it's the community coming together. They have a planning committee, but then people come together, and it's just a wonderful way to celebrate community, and I kudos to you and everybody who works on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, thank you for bringing this forward. And I too have learned a lot about art and how we use it, you know, in engaging in the community and through transit and transportation. So thank you for that. And as part of the 2050 Imagine plan. And then I just don't know if, I love how it's an opportunity for others to access the list as well. And I don't know if we push this out to our local partners, cities and counties, to avail themselves of these artists. Maybe we do. You know, certainly with the suburban providers, you know, I don't think we've got as much art going on. I don't know about other areas, but it's just really great to know that you've curated this. So maybe I'll share it with some of the mayors in my communities to see if they want to avail themselves of this talent throughout the region.
Yeah, Councilmember Johnson, there. Yeah, this is a roster being created for us, which is a great resource. We could share it. There are a lot of resources out there on lists of artists through Forecast, through Springboard for the Arts, through all different kinds of arts associations that we could easily pull together information if we want to share it with people. How to find an artist, basically, is the process. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ryan, do you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair and Councilmember. I think even beyond the roster, part of what I was thinking about while here, the challenge often with, I'll speak cities and counties, but you could add in potentially suburban providers or others too, as you're deluged with so many other things, you know that public art can be important, but it doesn't always become a thing that rises up the list, and there's not enough, like, quote unquote, value seen in it. And this presentation, I want to give you a lot of credit, Mark, really shows, you know, you see it moving around our community too, but you see how this art brings value and beauty to the community, but it also has a very tangible impact on other operational impacts of the system. And considering in the tours, my takeaway was thinking about a policymaker tour around public art as a way to try to break down some of what feels like a big barrier sometimes to getting started and why would we do this? It's like, well, there's actually really good tangible reasons why you would do it beyond it only being beautiful, which I'm not saying that alone isn't enough, but there's like other reasons operationally. I think we would have an opportunity to help bridge the gap between the unknown to what is possible. And I take that to heart here, and we'll think about that some more as we go.
And just one quick response, thank you for that, Ryan, because there is a practical use to art as well. And I know that during my time in Plymouth, and I think maybe even the league supports some of this, the League of Cities, but putting an art policy in place is very important within the organizations too. So I don't know how many cities or counties have done that. I just think this is beautiful, and it'd be great if all the buses and stops and stations throughout the region had this on them. So thank you for that.
Riva, then Robert.
Yeah, it's nice to hear this and see this presentation of this wonderful art. I was looking at public art in the state and saw that there's an application for artists and also people who want to donate art. On our site, I see your information is listed. I'm wondering if we can market it a little bit more so that people are more aware, and if they do want to participate or donate, there could be maybe like a way to sign up directly on our site about this program. Just an idea.
Yeah. Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Mark, for the presentation here. And I'm so super impressed. And just a couple of thoughts on what's been said. And first, to the regional administrator, I would really support an idea of policymaker public arts tour. I think that would be really helpful. I'm guessing there would be great response. And to what Councilmember Johnson just said about public arts policy, and we have Mark here, which is great. We have our Art Plus policy process, but I was just reminiscing now years ago, maybe 15 years ago now, when I was on the Minneapolis City Council, and the organization I now work for led the charge to get murals and wraps on electrical boxes. And it just hadn't happened yet. And so we worked with the city of Minneapolis, established this policy. And as soon as it was in place, bam, they just blew up. Everybody wanted to paint their electrical boxes in their community. So I think we're on the right track here. I also really want to congratulate Mr. Granlund. I think, so you've been in your position 9 years, and you're the first, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was a newly created position. I met with Mr. Granlund in my day job before I was a city council or Met council member, and you were just sort of starting out this work, and I think you were doing an inventory of public art. I mean, really the fundamental foundational work. And to see, we were talking about decommissioning a piece of art at the Franklin LRT station, I remember at the time, and you were the public arts administrator, but it didn't feel nearly this programmed. So just to look over the progress that you've made in programmatizing this work for us, congratulations. I mean, that's foundational. And I do have one question about the wraps and the bus shelters and the buses. And I get asked about this a lot out in the community. How does that happen? And I'm just wondering if you can talk briefly about the process or how community can access, if there's interest in the community, to wrapping something, a bus shelter, or I hear from about people that want to wrap a bus around an event or a festival or a community, and I usually just blast it off to Leslie and maybe the regional administrator, but is there a point of entry for the public who's interested in exploring the possibility of wrapping something?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Lilligren. There are processes in place for all of that. Some a little more established than others. Wrapping buses is handled through our creative services marketing. Maria Cohn is the contact there. And there's many ways to go about doing that. Everything from, just outright paying for a wrap to, I wouldn't say it's bartering. What is it? It's offsetting costs somehow or another. And Maria has been doing that for years, and that's all known how to do that with her. And then looking at wrapping utility boxes, things like that. It really is just contacting me for some of that, if it's art really art-related, new art. We also have I've worked with creative services to develop 5, 6, 7 different kinds of default designs that could go on utility boxes just to cover them if they're a real graffiti magnet. And we've done that at a few places, and it's worked really effectively.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Deb?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick things. First of all, to kind of follow on Councilmember Lilligren's comments, because the program's really come a long way. And I remember when you first came and presented to us, when you was going through the original inventory of what do we have, what do we, and how are we going to control for this? And just to see not only that the maintenance and the records and sort of having the inventory of everything, but how we're continuing to expand the program over time. I think it's still very important. I want to comment a little on some of the comments about some of the areas in the suburban districts. There's actually still, because public art they're seeing some of the impacts of what we're doing. Some of those communities also already are doing some things themselves. I like it, for example, when we had to approve the change in budget way back when in the Green Line extension. I think Councilmember Wolf and I were the only ones there, but we had to pull public art out of the project. And so a lot of local communities came back and said, okay, we still want this. And so they did some things. If you go out to like Southwest Transit Station and some of the artwork that's in the concrete, if you go at night, it's all lit up. It's beautiful. But that's something that local entities, they were like, we do want to see some of this. And so you see sort of the webs of this spreading because people see that it works and it's helpful. And both from the perspective of making people feel welcome, obviously it helps with maintenance and all of that. But my real comment is, I think I want to just thank you because I talk a lot about the value of social infrastructure and how infrastructure how that works, how actual infrastructure connects you to community, and I think the work in public art is one of the real things that does that, because you're taking local artists, and you're getting people, so it does make people feel some more ownership in everything, and I think it's just been very impressive, and it does make it much more lovely, makes the experience nicer, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mark, clearly, we're all really interested in what you do and the collection we have, and I'll just echo what a lot of people have said. It's come a long way, and I know you've been engaged with it. My own story goes back 10 years ago at MINDA when we were developing an art policy, and I think I met with Jill Hinches and said, well, she said, you just got to take care of this collection. And I think the fact that we have a more formalized maintenance program to actually not just curate, but take care of and maybe even bring back. It's really exciting to see. And I, having my first job out of college, was working for a former Metropolitan Council chair's mother by the name of Joan Mondale to help advance, artwork. And we've come a long way in these transit systems. But I think we're probably pretty unique in terms of our collection. I mean, compared to other systems. I mean, is that still true? It probably is.
Well, public art in transit is a popular thing over the last 10, 15 years.
Okay.
So there's a lot out there, but we have a very good collection, a very large collection, yeah.
And the kind of a question is, I know that I've had some people mention to me the advisory committee for the Green Line extension, that there's a art policy group, but I've never actually know a lot about them. Are they helping identify or funding sources for installations along the line?
Yeah, Chair Zell, I've been working, actually one of the first meetings I went to when I started working here was a Places meeting, which is
that's what it's called, Places.
Yeah, which is the group of the cities along the extension gathered together and said, well, we want to raise money and we still want public art to be a part of the experience, transit experience, even though the budget changed. And so we're at the point where we've identified at all the stations where there's going to be public art and starting to get down to looking at how they're going to fundraise for it this next year. So
stay tuned, is what I'm hearing. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can also confirm you were excited for this presentation because he talked about it the entire way while we were driving from a meeting back here today. And so I'm just going to, he was telling me the whole way about how excited he was for it.
I am excited. And St. Two John's has promised me a bike ride tour of the Green Line, so if anybody wants to join me, a public policy tour of our own, we should do that. Any other questions, thoughts? Thanks, Mark, we really appreciate
you.
it. We look forward to hearing updates. I just have a couple of items I wanted to mention while we have 2 minutes. What, more than 2 minutes. Those that were there for the Gold Line opening know what a fabulous day that was for Met Council, for Met Transit, for the region, and it was just great enthusiasm, great show by the staff who helped organize it, and everybody was, even though it was chilly, it was sunny. And boy, it's really gratifying to see buses full of families, every 10 minutes. So, and they're still running. So I encourage people to take a ride. The other quick item I want to mention is that my boss, our governor, all of our bosses, Governor Walz, announced a pretty momentous policy shift for state government for coming back to work 50% of the time. And although we're not a state agency, we are a cabinet agency. I sit with him, so we have our own HR department. We have our own policies and practices. So I just want to tell you that we are at council. We're going to be kind of looking at that carefully and thinking about how that might be integrated to get more back to the office. Quite honestly, there are divisions that we have who, like maybe in Met Transit, maybe in our water division, I'm calling it the water division.
Okay.
Never went home. They've been in person all along, and then there's some that are at home. So we're going to find a way to kind of meet the spirit strategy of that, but that's something I think we'll be addressing over the next couple of weeks in case you get any questions. You want to add anything to that?
I'll just underscore, Mr. Chair, that we're already continually calibrating where we're at with the policy that the organization's had for the last couple of years. And so coincidentally, we were in the middle of talking about some of that before this announcement rolled out. It was like, good timing. I mean, that makes sense. You need to, as an organization, be continually calibrating to the world that is, not the world that was. And the only other piece I would underscore is that we recognize that a significant majority of our employees are full-time on-site every single day. And so we think about that as we build a culture as an entire organization and recognize that we serve the region in lots of different ways, and we'll continue to think about that as we move ahead.
With that, does anybody else have anything else they'd like to report? Councilmember Bento.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I just wanted to note that later on Saturday, I happened to drive by the new Park and Ride, and it was still hopping. And this was like at 3:30, 4 o'clock. It was hopping, so that was exciting. The other thing I thought I'd share, every once in a while when I walk in, I get a look like, oh, she's still here. And it's not a bad penny.
We're not complaining.
It's not a bad penny look, I don't think, but the governor's office announced the committee of officials who will interview for the, and I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. For the vacancies, one vacancy and one hopefully soon-to-be vacancy in 12 and 15. And that, you can find it online if you want to see it. And I've been told it may be May. So I was asked what year, and I think May of 2025.
Let's hope. Yeah, the committee has been announced and it's been published. And in fact, I am a non-voting member and I signed my oath of office, which I had never realized they did that before, but.
Well, and Mr. Chair, if I could add, former State Representative Lori Halverson, who's on the Dakota County Board, and Mayor Ann Burt of Woodbury will be the co-chairs.
Great group. Councilmember Lee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to underline the wonderful festivities this past weekend where we opened the Gold Line. In another life, I was the Constituent Services Director for the former St. Paul Mayor Coleman, and I remember fielding constituent complaints that there's inequity in the way we build out transit infrastructure more heavily in the West Metro as opposed to the East Metro. And so the opening of the Gold Line has been great for us in our communities, showing our constituents that we're beginning to invest more heavily in the East Metro.
Yeah, definitely that feeling, East Metro. Yeah, Deb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank all the council members who came out and participated in Transit Employee Appreciation Week. There were events all week. A number of you were out, very much appreciate it. Those who didn't make it, we have Great Day in Transit every month, and we'll take you along for that as well. But really, I do want to thank those who did come out, because it does mean a lot for our employees that we were out there in the system. So thank you all.
Thanks. Anybody else? Regional Administrator?
Mr. Chair, just one piece of news we're tracking. It's transit adjacent more than transit specific, but Amtrak announced that they shut down a series of their rolling stock due to corrosion and risk issues. And this kind of came at MnDOT today, kind of out of nowhere first, but then they passed along to us. And so the second train to Chicago, the Borealis train, is indefinitely suspended at this point. And I truly mean indefinitely in terms of, if you told me 2 weeks or you told me 6 months, I would believe you either way. Potentially, we just don't know right now what it means. It's being replaced, I believe, with bus service, but it's a blow to.
Which is a great thing.
It's a blow to folks who have spent a lot of time investing in the work to get that train, and it's a disappointment. There's a couple other runs across the country impacted as well, including half of the runs between Milwaukee and Chicago. And so, I mean, it's a significant impact here as we hit spring break and the summer. And we don't know anything else, but we serve Union Depot where the train comes into, and it's an important connection point. And I mean, we're hoping for good news at this point, but I just wanted to make sure everyone had seen it because it kind of rolled out today. And I don't think Amtrak had a robust communication plan, so it kind of just hit when it hit. And we'll keep you posted as we learn more.
Anything else? Ms. General Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council members, I also wanted to acknowledge the Gold Line opening as the council's lawyer. Those are the fun kind of events to get to go to. And really just shout out to not only all the Metro Transit employees who worked on it, but all the employees throughout regional administration and our other divisions as well. And it's always fun to go to those events and see support from the entire council, employees, all divisions that were there at the event. And a reminder, free rides through March 28th, particularly with Lunds and Byerly's closing in St. Paul. You can catch the Gold Line to a grocery store. And I think that's really important for people to get out and try it. So thank you.
Thanks to Washington and Ramsey County. And not hearing any other reports, great decisions today. What a good day for transit. And we'll see you soon. This meeting is adjourned.